How's it going, everyone? Hope you're doing well. We got a great video today. We're looking at Scarlet and Violet booster box investments for the year of 2025. We're going to get right on into it, guys. Lately, Destined Rivals booster boxes were trending in the downward direction. And then, of course, people started buying them up once they went down to $275. You could see right here. I was watching this for the past few weeks and, 350. It went down to 322. And then I saw the lowest list at 275, and I knew people were going to start buying because they saw this big dip. It dropped about 50 to $75. And yeah, people started buying starting on April 7th for $272, $275 just about. And literally every day you had hundreds of boxes being sold. And some of these boxes were by the same sellers. You could see right here, this person has 3 boxes for 318, 15 boxes for 318, 6 boxes for 318, 36 boxes for 318. And it's pretty obvious that a lot of these stores are now getting their allocations, or they're only putting up some of their allocations for pre-order. And there was less sellers, you guys, having booster boxes, and now there's 2 or 3 pages of sellers all selling for the same price, you guys. So don't be buying Destined Rivals right now. Wait till the set comes out. The set looks really great. I know it does. The Team Rocket's Mewtwo, the Nidoking, the Crobat, the Orbeetle, all amazing cards in this set. Not what everyone expected, but at least we got a nice looking Nidoking. A lot of people like the Crobat, and even the Mewtwo is starting to grow on me a lot more. I think it looks more menacing the more I look at it. It looks more intimidating, and it looks like the first trainer card that I like in a long time. Most recently, they've been killing it with trainer cards, in my opinion. I think they look really great. And then, I mean, you got lots to love. The Moltres isn't here, but you have the Wobbuffet, that Blaziken, the Houndoom is even grown on me too. And then, so yeah, there's a lot of great cards in this set. You also have the Cynthia's Garchomp EX right here, $239 for the Japanese card. The Ethan's Ho-Ho. And I think this Typhlosion is going to do really well along with this Misty's Psyduck for the set. So don't forget that this is also in Destined Rivals. I bet you this Cynthia's Roserade, if you want to collect this card right now, I would pick it up in Japanese because the English version is probably going to be expensive right out of the gate. You still have the Rapidash as well. Super cool card. And so that is Destined Rivals, and we're going to place Destined Rivals right here, you guys. We're going to place it in the price correction D list and the restock list because I've been hearing online a lot of people saying that they got the same amount of allocations as Journey Together, if not more than Journey Together. And Journey Together, I believe, is a really underrated set. I think people are, especially a lot of people who were complaining about scalpers. This is an investment channel. Recently, I sold $12,000 of Pokemon investments of mine, and that was about, I put an initial investment of about 3.5 to 3.75K, and that was over time of a year. And I sold it for $12,000, and I'll show you right here. I'll link the video right there. I had a YouTube short. I made this sale 2 months ago, and I was really proud of myself because this whole investment journey the past 4 years has been awesome. And I've been on YouTube for 1 year on and off. And so, for me, Pokemon investment is a great hobby. It's a great side gig, side hobby. Whether you're flipping, selling, or just investing and collecting. I don't go out to the stores and scalp all the product. I don't need to do that. I just go online and try to find great deals at better opportunity times, with the lowest risk and better entry points. So anyways, let's go ahead and check out this booster box. You could see the past month, the booster box has dropped from $275. Remember, release was March 28th. And so even on March 28th, it went down from $270 to $238. And it's gone down to $218 in April, down to $215 right now throughout April. And people are still buying booster boxes. You could see that there's still been 30 boxes on average sold, and even 50 boxes for $215. And so the volume is actually starting to pick up a little bit. There's still people picking up product for $214 that you could see right there. And the last sold $207 and $206 and $219. These are all on the same day, you guys. So around $213 to $219. We even have one selling for $239. Maybe that one has a really good picture that's really clean. And here is the let's see. This was the enhanced booster box, right? $215. And then we have the regular booster box, $232. You can see a lot of people are anticipating that we will maybe get a reprinted set that has the promo. This booster box technically is more scarce than the booster box with the promo, because a lot of us know that most big stores got the enhanced booster box. So like LGS's, local card shops, they got the booster box with the promo, and they got a tons of, not a tons, but a decent amount of cases with the promo. Then when it came to the non-promo booster box, those only came in those build and battle kits that local card shops get. They get a booster box, and then they get a bunch of build and battle kits together. And there's one booster box with all those kits. And that booster box in particular, in the United States, in North America, had no promo. And so that booster box is technically more scarce. And so people found that out, managed to get up as high as $265 before release. And that one is also trending in the downward direction, down to 232 boxes. But you still have 60 to 50 and 40 boxes being sold lately for that price of $230. So it was on its way dropping, and then it kind of saw a nice stable support line of $230. So we're gonna put this booster box, yes, right now these two booster boxes are the most recent booster boxes, and we're gonna get to Surging Sparks and Twilight Masquerade. But what happened with those sets? They were really popular, really great sets, a really desirable chase card, and they got reprinted. And those reprints have slowly been, I've been getting updates every day on the shop app. If you haven't used it, it's a really great app. It has a tons of stores, and I'm getting updates, even from the UK and from North America, of booster boxes being available for Surging Sparks and Twilight Masquerade, and it's bringing the price down. I think Surging Sparks went down to like $220, and then now it's back at $250. We're going to look at that soon. And Twilight Masquerade is about $220, whereas previously it was hitting the $240s. And then, so we're going to be looking at, that's why I'm putting Journey Together right here. And then we're going to get into the other categories, because those categories are fire. The S tier involves chase card, set value, depth, entry point, reprints into consideration, and gem rates. So I have them all categorized. You can see right there for yourself. Pause the video, but we're going to continue, because we're going to get into these booster box sets, and we're going to rate them, you guys. We're going to rate them. You could still invest in Pokemon sets in 2025. It's definitely better to be investing during a bear market. A few years ago, like the past 2-3 years, that's when I was heavily investing in Pokemon and just buying booster boxes. And if they went down $20-$30, I would buy maybe one more, maybe two more, just to bring my overall average down, my cost basis down. Here's another look at those booster boxes, or not the booster boxes, sorry, the cards for Journey Together. And look at the set value, $928 right there for Journey Together. And if we look at the Glory of Team Rocket, the Japanese set, $1,240, which is a whole lot for a smaller set, $885. So we can kind of anticipate, if Journey Together is $928 for a small set, right? This is $1,200, this is basically $800, so that's about $2,000 in set value. We can anticipate that maybe our Destined Rivals set having a set value of $1,500, and the only set that's close to that is Prismatic Evolutions and Surging Sparks and Pokemon 151. So just looking at quickly, Lily's Clefairy is under $200. Salamence has now beat N Zoroark, and it's now $106. N Zoroark is now $90. Iono's Belly Bolt has dropped all the way to $85. Hopzacian surprisingly staying strong at $65. The Volcanion, $39, and then you have the gold cards right here in the 30s. The Articuno is sub $30 now, $27, not too bad. And the Wailord, $21, not too bad for that Wailord. The Reshiram has as well. TCG player, the price has dropped now to $13 for the regular, or actually that was the not, I think that was the stamped version, you guys. The stamped version. We'll look at it in a little bit, but Reshiram, $16 for the non-stamped version right there. Lily's Rabombi, $9. The Furret, $7. Hop Zulu. So there's a decent amount of depth in this set. And so now that we're going to talk about chase cards and depth, the depth, it's not too bad. You have illustration rares. It helps the set. It's not a big set, though. It's a small set, and it's a top-heavy set, in my opinion, for sure, with these cards right here just kind of being the higher chase cards, along with the Articuno and perhaps the Wailord and the Reshiram. So it's not too bad, you guys. Not too bad. So as of right now, I do have it in the D slot because we want to wait for restocks and price corrections. Currently, it's already getting some price corrections, and apparently we are going to get a decent reprint. I was told from the UK, a buyer that I had in the UK, or sorry, a seller that I bought from in the UK that still has my booster boxes, because it says in July we're going to be getting a reprint or at least restocks. And so apparently he got less allocation than he thought. Whatever. He asked me if I wanted a refund, or he said I could be on the priority list. So I was like, just keep it for the priority list, man, and I'll just wait for my booster boxes when you get them. And he was like, all right. And so I do think it has a potential because of the chase. The set value right now is in the 900s. The entry point right now is $215 for the promo, $230 for the non-promo. Now, in my opinion, I do think the promo is the better version, and here's why. The promo was available as of right now in North America, and everyone either in Australia, UK, a lot of people were getting the promo booster box for their collection. So that tells me that even though there's more of the promo version, they already have the non-promo version, and the promo version is exclusive to North America. And so could that mean that this promo version is better? In my opinion, it's better because you can also pull Reshiram non-stamped in the same set, and you also get the free promo with the booster box itself. So I would put this in the S tier, but I'm waiting for price corrections and restocks. The entry point, I think, as close to MSRP as you can get. If it was like 180, I think that's a great price. Anywhere near 160, I think is a great price, of course. I don't think we're going to be seeing sets getting down below MSRP until we start to hit a bear market in about maybe 6 months to a year. And we'll follow along. I'm not saying like it's definitely, that I know or that I even have a clue. We're just going to be following the market until it does, because eventually we are going to enter a bear market. Supposedly we're supposed to get into a mega set. Scarlet and Violet will end very soon, and the next two sets are either going to be included in Scarlet and Violet, or they're going to start the mega line, and there's going to be like 5 sets with mega Pokemon, and Scarlet and Violet will end. So that's going to be crazy. That's going to be awesome. And then we're going to talk about reprints for Scarlet and Violet 2 and gem rates, especially when it comes to Paldea Evolved and Scarlet and Violet base, because I know there's a lot of people that are so crazy about Scarlet and Violet's base, like it's the best investment ever. I mean, gem rates, sure, but I think overall it's not like the biggest set to be chasing. However, I do think the potential of the Miraidon and Koraidon SIRs are big time in the future for the Scarlet and Violet base set. So let's go ahead and look at Surging Sparks. Pikachu is now to $339. It's been trending in the downward direction, which is good. It's lost about 25% in the past few months. Latias is $198. Milotic is still holding strong at $118. I think it's down from $140. And Latias was above like $220 for a while. The Hydreigon is an awesome card. It's down to $64. I think it's a beautiful card that I still want in my collection. I just haven't gotten it yet. I chose to get a Salamence PSA 10 in Japanese instead. And so, yeah, right away, set value, $1,417. You have the Alolan Executor, $46. I think that's a cool price. Not bad. Latios is down to $30 now. You have the Arch Aladon, not too popular, but $29. Cerulege, $24. Then you have the Durant. I've seen people have like so many of these Durant cards. The Skarmy, $11. The Mesprit. The Feebas, which has to go with that Milotic up here, right? The Feebas is currently only an $8 card. The Slakoth, the Castform, the Sfeel, the Fanpea. There's a lot of cool cards that if you pull them, you'd be happy at least that you pull in an illustration rare. And that's what's great about Scarlet and Violet is that you get all these cool illustration rare potentials. The Execute right here. Like, you know, and a lot of people do have some of these Pokemon that they actually want to pull and they actually want to enjoy. And for them, this set offers so many different choices, so many different things that you could be pulling. And so I think, you know, obviously Surging Sparks is on the S tier. I mean, it's kind of just self-explanatory. The set is already at $1,400. It barely released maybe 6 months ago. And so, yes, we put Surging Sparks on the S tier. The chase card with the Pikachu is you know, almost sub $300. The set value, $1,400. The depth, it's a pretty large set. The entry point, we're going to go ahead and look at the booster box right now. And then reprints, it's been getting reprints or a reprint and restocks. So the price has been going down. And the gem rates, I did a video on gem rates. It's on my channel. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Let's go ahead and look at the booster box. Let's look at that Pikachu. $339 is the value right now. Booster box data right here. Let's check it out. And so let's see, in February, it peaked at $264. And that was like the talk of the rumors, right, of the reprints. You know, it shot up in February from 240 to 260. It was on its way up, kept going up. You know, people, you know, the set release, and it just kept going up and up and up. And then what happened, right? What happened to this set? Well, you know, we got the reprint talk, and then it officially started happening in March. And throughout March, it dropped to 255 down to 240 right here, 247 on April 2nd. So it dropped from $263 down to 240 April 2nd. You know, we're starting to get those reprints. And the hard thing about reprints right now in Scarlet and Violet era is that there's so many stores that want Pokemon cards. I even bought some booster boxes from a skate shop in the UK that now is selling Pokemon booster boxes. So, you know, you have Home Depot, Dollar Tree. I even had Quick Stop in my hometown here in California. I went to visit my hometown and they had Surging Sparks packs. So, you know, that's why the allocations are just slimmer across the board. And so we did get price corrections of $20. And then now, as you can see, it's like jumping back up right here to 250s. So now it's in the 250s and managed to drop to barely to the 240s. But at least it dropped from right here, 263 down to 240, 249, and now it's 253. So it hasn't even faced too many price corrections, but you can see how volatile it's been just by a few dollars, trying to hold strong at that 240 price point and go below 240. And then people look at the volume right there. You can see for yourself. 5 to 10 to 15 booster boxes are still being sold this month in April and the end of March. So, you know, if you're having 5 to 10 booster boxes being sold for $250, a lot of people are like, hey, this is the reprint that we're getting. You know, the price isn't dropping, so people are buying, which is keeping the price at $250. And I don't blame them because Surging Sparks is a great set. I was still investing in Evolving Skies at $400 for booster boxes. And I had one in my collection and I wanted other ones to invest in, and I was investing at $400, and then I sold them now for $1,300 and made a good profit, right? So if this is one of the better sets, you know, I don't blame anyone buying the set for their collection. Maybe they thought it was going to get cheaper, but at the end of the day, it is a great set. $1,400 value. It's on the S tier. It has a chase card. It's got entry point. Not too bad, $250. At least it's not as crazy as Journey Together was getting or Destined Rivals. You know, it did shoot up fast. You know, booster boxes were $100, then $110, $120, and then it was off to the races. And then we already got those reprints, and the gem rates, like I said, I did a video on them already. The PSA 10 gem rates are pretty low in the 30s and 40% for Surging Sparks. Next, we're going to be talking about Paradox Rift. Paradox Rift I had that YouTube short. I probably already showed it by now. I had a ton of Paradox Rift. I got them for like $85 on TikTok. Like, what was it, 2 years ago when the set came out? We could check right here. November 2023. So yeah, that is already, actually, it hasn't been 2 years just yet, but it's almost 2 years old. Set value right now, $989. The Groudon, $83. You know, the Groudon, I was telling people, and I got some comments saying that there's no way the Groudon's going to be like the Magikarp. Well, look at the Groudon now. It managed to get to $100, and now it's down to $83. You know, it still had that big leg up, and it's probably going to have another big leg up if we do not get any more restocks or reprints for this set. When this set came out, there was a ton of stock. There was stock on stock on stock. People couldn't get rid of this set. And now that we haven't had any restocks, all that stock either got ripped open, ripping ships, people online ripping packs, people ripping. I had people buying booster boxes from me to collect for their collection. I had people buying booster boxes from me to have for their local card shop. And so, you know, eventually the supply for booster boxes does dry up, and it's either in collections or it's been ripped. And so, yeah, that's why the booster box price has been going up, and we'll look at the price soon. And then the Altaria took off, went to like $65. Now it's $55. The Garchomp took off. It was like a $25 card for the longest time. Took off to the 50s. Now it's down to $32. The Roaring Moon is the one that's still, you know, it came out the gate really strong at like $100, then $80. Then 60, then 50, then 45 for a little bit, and then it kind of settled at $50 right now, and it's been like that for a while. The Yveltal took off, it's $20. You have the Plusle, the Minun, you have the Iron Valiant. A lot of people like the Steelix, it's $28. The Goldango gets made fun of, but it's still a $30 card. It's been $30 since it's been released. It stayed at $39, $29. Didn't really hit 25. It just stayed there for forever since the set's been out. So, you know, has a stable price point of $30. It's cool enough to stay there. Morpeko, I pulled a bunch of these, $18. The Golisopod even went up in value over time. You have the Magby, the Mantike, the Swablu. Iron Hands was expensive only because it was playable. You have Tapu Koko, the Parasol Lady. So you have, this is a really large set. Kind of like Paldea Evolved. It's not as big as Paldea Evolved. We'll get there. But you have just so many hits in this set. The pull rates for Paradox Rift were really good. It was fun to open. Sometimes you opened a gold card, which I didn't want to pull, but I was pulling so many gold cards every time. I stopped after like 4 or 5 booster boxes opening them. And it was a good time back then, you guys. You could open booster boxes for the cheapest, like $90, and just pull so much fun stuff. And so, yeah, the set just keeps going on. It just has a lot to offer, you guys. Has a lot to offer, has really cool chase cards. And so when I go to the tier list, personally, I have to put it in the S tier. And here's the anecdote for why it's in the S tier. When I was investing in Sword and Shield, I didn't like Fusion Strike. All right? Kind of like, we'll get to Paldea Evolved. I don't really like Paldea Evolved, personally, for me. I didn't collect or invest in it heavily. I just got a few booster boxes, and I've already sold them at the 200 mark, right? But I still bought Fusion Strike. I still bought Paldea Evolved. When it comes to the Groudon, the Roaring Moon, and this set, Paradox Rift, people really disliked this set when it came out. But it still has decent set value, right? I think we saw that it was in the 989. So it has decent set value right now. More than Obsidian Flames, more than Stellar Crown, more than Scarlet and Violet base. And so there's no reprints, right? We had a lot of stock to begin with, and it's just been slowly dwindling for these past 2 years. And then the gem rates are actually pretty difficult for Paradox Rift. Scarlet and Violet base, Paradox Rift, Obsidian Flames all have terrible gem rates, and Paldea Evolved all have terrible gem rates, and Pokemon 151, I believe. And so that's why I put in the S tier, you guys. It's already a $200 box, or at least it was, or really close to being one. And, you know, this is a booster box that people have been telling me that they want in their collection. And when I post it on Facebook marketplaces, people were still buying. People were still buying this booster box. Maybe they just got back into Pokemon and they liked the set. And so you could see a month ago right here just goes to show, like, it's tried to get down to the 180s and then people start buying it up. It was 199 on April 13th, got down to 191 and people were buying it up again, and now it's 194. And as you can see, you're still having like 4 to 10 booster boxes being sold. So it's definitely more popular than Scarlet and Violet base. Let me tell you, people were buying Scarlet and Violet base, but that doesn't mean that it's a great set. It's definitely better than Sun and Moon. But anyways, so let's move on to Paldea Evolved. You got the $214 Magikarp, the Iono 65, the Raichu 50, the Tyranitar 44, the Mousehold. When I was vending for the first time a few months ago, people were interested in this Mousehold. I didn't have it. $34. The Fuecoco 23, the Skeledirge 24, the Chiyu 25, the Tinkaton, the Marill. This is the largest set, I believe, in Scarlet and Violet. You got the Heracross, and the pull rates again were really good. So people like opening booster boxes when they have good pull rates. Some people like to complain about it when they're too good of pull rates, and then when they're too hard, people complain, right? That's why I like being a collector and investor, because I just collect the sets that I like and I invest in all the sets, and the ones that I like more, I think have more potential, I invest in more heavily. And Paldea Evolved wasn't one of them. I just got a few booster boxes and I've already sold them. Baxcalibur, Sudowoodo, Floragato. Yeah, these right here, the Paldean Tauros, the Arctibax by the same illustrator. So you have those three ruined Pokemon, right? Ting-Lu, Chi-Yu, and Chien-Pao. Frigibax, Pyroar. You have the starter lines, right? The starter line, right? So, really large set. So many different Pokemon that you can pull. And it's really nice to have, good pull rates for a set, because people actually enjoy opening it. And this may be a set that, what's really interesting about those rip and shippers, they will open booster boxes when they're expensive, and they'll just sell the packs inside, right? And it's a fun experience for everyone, because they're like, oh my god, you're opening Fusion Strike, or you're opening Evolving Skies, or you're opening Paldea Evolved, you're opening Paradox Rift eventually. Like, really fun hobby to be a part of, and there's so many ways to participate in the hobby, right? Now let's look at Paldea Evolved booster boxes. You can see it's not letting up. The last month it's gone up from $215 to $234 with $234 with 5 to 10 booster boxes on average being sold. The past 3 months, in January it was right below $200 in January, and then early February it jumped to $220, and then in March $230, and now we're in April and it's $233. So it just continuously rise up. There's 54 listings. Some of these are Korean or Japanese. So yeah, Paldea Evolved is drying up. People want to get in, and like I said, the gem rates. I have a video on PSA 10 gem rates, and I did one for Paldea Evolved, and they are horrible. Some of them are 17, 18% PSA 10 gem rates. All right, next we're moving on to Twilight Masquerade, the set that people also hated. People didn't think the Greninja was a good chase. They thought it was overvalued at $200. And I don't blame them, because, back in early Scarlet and Violet, sets would come out, cards would be expensive, and then they would go down, once there was more product being opened and more singles being available on the secondary market. And so singles would, crash, or they would enter into strong price corrections, 10, 20, 30%. It just depended on the card. Greninja, though, broke the mold and actually went up in value post-release and kind of just kept going up, settling through some price corrections and then going up again. So it is really popular Pokemon card, and it looks amazing in person. You have the Eevee. You have the trainers, though, and trainers, are hit and miss. These ones are very cool. Definitely with this one pairs with the Growlithe, right? And this one has really cool hollow in the eyes and on the food. But again, it's all about the Pokemon mainly, right? Blood Moon or Ursaluna, I have so many of these. I thought this would be a popular card, but it's not. But you never know. It could be like Tyranitar, or like a Machamp from Astral Radiance, where, Machamp is carrying those dishes, and then Machamp literally takes off and kind of gets popular for a while. The card gets pumped up and then enters price corrections, and then people kind of either already have the card or get over it, or they don't want the card because it's not the biggest chase card out of the Sword and Shield era, right? Some people really like it though. And that's how I felt about Ursaluna. I really liked the card. And then once I had a few copies, I was like, man, people don't like this card. It's not going up in value. Then you have this trainer card. You have the Ogre Pawns that aren't popular. Maybe one day, you know, they'll have a premium for them. But right now, they're not too popular, right? Here's the Growlithe. I pulled the Growlithe. That was cool. I think I'm going to be grading it. The Chansey, a lot of people like. The Tatsugiri, people liked, and it's really playable. You have the Infernape, which I think I want to pick up. I haven't gone it yet. I think it looks really cool. I think it's kind of like the Blaziken that we're getting in Destined Rivals. The Pinstripe pulled, really cool artwork. I actually really like this drawing, and when you see it, it just looks like, man, like you're watching the Pokemon show. It's pretty cool. And then you still have some more down here, guys. You still have some cool illustration rares down here. Not too bad. The Wattrel. You know, pulling anything is great, definitely, for these sets. So it's got a little bit of depth, I will admit. It kind of reminds me of like I don't know, maybe a Lost Origin, with the fact that Lost Origin had like the Pikachu cards in it, the Aerodactyl. That's kind of how I feel about this set, with the Greninja, the Eevee, maybe the Ursaluna, and then the illustration rares, you know, kind of gives me Lost Origin vibes, where it might not be the most expensive set like Fusion Strike was, but I think it can compete with Surging Sparks because of the Greninja itself. And like in Lost Origin, you have that Giratina, which has been, you know, not competing, but like kind of with Fusion Strike to be the second most expensive booster box. But right now, Fusion Strike is definitely winning that race by like $50-$60. And so next, we're going to go ahead and look at the booster box right here. You can see with those reprint news, I did a video about it about a month ago, $232, and then it price corrected down to $207. And now it's slowly going up from $207 to $220. And look at the volume. Here's your sign right here that people want this set. You have almost 20 booster boxes being sold every few days throughout March and April. Even when this booster box was expensive and people weren't sure about reprints, you were having like 40 booster boxes being sold for $208, and then 36 at $226. So I think if you don't have this set already, I have maybe, honestly, not that many. I've been trying to pick up more, but I've been selling some of them. So I got some of them for really cheap at like $110. But I think I have about 5 Twilight Masquerade booster boxes, and I would have went more heavy in this set, but you know, we knew there was going to be a Team Rocket set. I had to wait and get more. But at this point, you guys, we could get another reprint maybe a few months from now or a year from now, however long this set is in rotation. But it's $220. It's already had some price corrections from the $232. So, you know, it's almost $220. So it's getting close to $230 again. I really do think that this set is a great set. So let's go ahead and go to the tier list right here. Whoops. And I went ahead and I put it in the S tier. It has the chase, the set value. If we go back to set value right here, set value, $1,166. $1,166. Surging Sparks, well, what did we say, was around $1,400. So $1,100. It's got set value. It's got decent depth with the Eevee. And, you know, I don't know about the depth. I'm still trying to think about that part because, you know, you have the Infernape, you have the Chansey, the Eevee. I'm not too... All right, next we got Stellar Crown. So we have the Squirtle in this set, $61, finally surpassing the Terapagos. Terapagos has managed to go from $180 down to $55. And so that was a slow fall for the Terapagos. The set overall only has a total value of $489. And so it's a small set. The pull rates were still somewhat difficult for this set, and the print quality was really good for this set as well. The Bulbasaur is now $53, Dashbun $32. Both of these two cards were getting into the 80s and 90s, the Squirtle and the Bulbasaur. And now that, you know, a lot of people have kind of calmed down with the buyouts and buying cards to flip or invest, everything in between, now the price corrections are here. This Dashbun is down to $32. The Hydrapple, $28. The Galvantula, $20. Really cheap card. The Lacy, $28. And so yeah, there's just not a whole lot to chase besides the Squirtle and Bulbasaur for this set. So luckily they added that card. The Zora is a really cool card though. And there's a couple cool illustration rares. You have the Reboot, the Meditite, the Ledian card is really cool. So you have some interesting Pokemon in this set that, get their chance to shine in a set. And so that's pretty much it. It's a really small set. So when we go to the investment tier list, it's limited depth. And it doesn't have a really big chase card, doesn't have a whole lot of set value. And so it's kind of interesting that the price point for the booster box has now gone to $200. That's where we're at for this set. Pokemon started to calm down with Temporal Forces with their Twilight Masquerade. I think Temporal Forces was the first set where they just didn't overprint all their booster boxes. They kind of turned down the printers a little bit. And so Stellar Crown and Temporal Forces has less booster boxes overall that were printed. And so far we've had, maybe a few restocks for this product post-release, but no reprints. And so because of that, the booster box has been trending in the upward direction, managed to get to $211, and now is down at $200. If we look at the last month, though, it's been coming down from $211 on March 25th, down to $198, and then managed to go back up to $200. So, the reason why is because here's the volume of sales. You were having 5 booster boxes to almost 10 booster boxes being sold every day right here. And then once the price got down to 198, that average kind of increased a little bit to 6 and 8 booster boxes on average being sold. And so now the price is back to $202. And so there's 77 listings right now. Some of those aren't true listings. So yeah, there's quite a few listings for this set. It even shows Surging Sparks 250, Paldea Evolved 234, Paradox Rift 194, Temporal Forces 197. We're going to go to Temporal Forces, I believe, next. And that is Temporal Forces right here. But before we do that, we already talked about limited depth. Temporal Forces I put on the A tier for investments, and mainly because it had a decent amount of set value we're going to get into right now in the 900s. We haven't had reprints, and the gem rates are pretty decent at 50%. And so the entry point is still not bad. It's still below $200. So I also put that. That's also another reason why it's in the A tier, because the entry point is still pretty good. And it has the potential to have a lot of great chase cards. But right now I put them in the second tier for chase card, just because the Magikarp, Pikachu, the Groudon, and Greninja I think are more popular Pokemon. Because this Temporal Forces set does have the new Paradox Pokemon from this era of Pokemon, this generation of Pokemon. And starting off, we have the Raging Bolt. The Raging Bolt was not the most expensive card when this booster box set was released. It was the Iron Crown. Iron Crown was going crazy at like $110, then $150. That was when the Pokemon bull market and the bear market started shifting. All of a sudden, people were trying to buy singles, buy out singles, make the prices go up, make the prices get really expensive for Pokemon cards. Because traditionally in the Scarlet and Violet era, and even the Sword and Shield era, cards would come out and they would be very expensive pre-release, and then post-release maybe be even more expensive. And then over time, over the next 4 months, they would go down. This was kind of that era where people were buying up cards pre-release and getting the prices to be expensive, or even post-release getting, if the card wasn't that expensive at $50, people were buying cards, because it seemed like a good deal. So this set, Iron Crown, was infamous for a while. They were calling it the the Moon Crown for a minute because of the moon in the background. Obviously, it didn't last. It's not the most popular Pokemon in the world, and it's nowhere near a Moonbreon or an Umbreon card, right? So the card has now fallen to $60. And then this Walking Wake, though, this Walking Wake was $45 for the longest time. I remember I picked up a few copies at a trade. It's called Ninja Exchange. It's like a big trading place for trading cards and buying cards. But yeah, so Walking Wake is now the third most expensive card. You still have this Morty's Conviction holding strong at $50. It was $38 for the longest time. Now it's a $50 card, and it has a pretty cool Gengar in it, actually. Gouging Fire, $50. And all these cards have really cool holos, like the sunlight coming in here, the moon right here around the circle, this blue one right here with the walking wake looks awesome, and then the sunlight down here. So this set does have a lot of potential. It just depends if market sentiment changes in the future, and all of a sudden, you know, in the next year or two, people are like, whoa, this is the best set ever. You have Paradox Pokemon in this set. We'll have to see. The Ghastly, $37. Iron Leaves, $33. And those are your main chases of the set. Then you get into the illustration rares right here. The Sawsbuck. You do have the SIR Bianca's Devotion. Pretty simple card. Would have been cool to have a battling card. You do have this crazy Airy card that's dropped in price. It's only an $18 card now. Iron Boulder, $19. Metagross, $21. This used to be like a $10 card. People caught on to that. The Litten, $14. Arbok, $14. The Drampa, $11. So you do have some cool artworks in this set. Relicanth. The Salvatore is just kind of a random card, but hey, you know, it's got all these knickknacks. And then you have the Grotto right here. This card got up to like $11, almost $15. Now it's back down to $8. Minccino, which has the other Chinchino somewhere. The Reuniclus. Shiftry. So it has a decent amount of depth for the set, I would say, overall. It's got a decent amount of illustration rares. Maybe not the most popular Pokemon. Here's the Gengar EX. Pretty cool card. That card had, people were grading this card left and right. And even that Full Art card, where is it? Right here. The Full Art card is all the way up here. $22 for that Gengar. People have been grading this card a lot. I think it's like a $50, $60 PSA 10. And yeah, again, if we go to set value, $889. So when we look at the tier list, it doesn't have, I think, the best chase card out of the era so far. I think in the future it has potential, though, maybe to take over these sets if the Raging Bolt or Walking Wake gets more popular than these other cards. But I think it's unlikely that it'll get more popular than the Greninja and the Pikachu and the Magikarp or the Groudon. But it's possible, you know. It's definitely possible. So we'll have to see with that Temporal Forces. Currently, it's in the A tier for these sets. We're almost done with this video, guys. We're at Obsidian Flames now. $55 for that Charizard. Total set value, though, only $316. So this set is a small set. Ninetales, $21. The Cleffa, people were asking me about Cleffa, I remember. $17. Pidgeot, $13. The Gloom, $10. Caesar, really cool card, $9. So this set was a small set. The pull rates were really great, like I said, for Scarlet and Violet and Paldea Evolved. And it just happened to be a really small set, like the Japanese version of its the counterpart, Ruler of the Black Flame. Houndour, really great card, $7. This shot up to $30 and then went back down. The Lechonk, the Ice Cube, the Reverum, Larvitar. Hopefully we get a Tyranitar before this era ends, an EX version, I mean. Because we never got this version in a full art, or I mean in a secret illustration rare. Palafin, Bellybolt. So yeah, you just had some Pokemon that weren't the most popular, like the Varoom and the Reverum and the Poppy. And it's a small set at the same time, but there is some really cool cards in this set, and we haven't gone too many reprints for this set. I think we just had one. It was supposed to be a reprint, but ended up just being like a pretty decent restock of, I think they only reprinted maybe the bundles, and they unleashed more of the stock that was in warehouses and stuff. So the bundles hit the market and the booster boxes hit the market. But it seems like they already had some stash away at whether it's MJ Holding or Southern Hobby. All these distribution centers apparently had some more booster boxes of Obsidian Flames. Maybe it came from Pokemon Center as well, but we haven't had an official reprint for this set. And that's probably the reason why this set, you know, in February was 185, and April got to $214, and now it's $209. So it's calmed down a little bit, but you can see the volume of sales. You're still having 10 to 15 booster boxes being sold every few days. You're having at least 5 booster boxes being bought for this set, Obsidian Flames. And of course, it's Charizard set. You know, new people entering the hobby are like, yo, Charizard, and you have illustration rares and the Ninetales and the Caesar, and especially with the illustration rares having harder gem rates for the illustration rares, especially in those first 4 sets. Like I said, Paradox Rift, Obsidian Flames, gem rates are really low for those sets. And I believe I made a video too on my channel, so check it out for PSA 10 prices of Obsidian Flames. When I did the tier list, I went ahead and put Obsidian Flames in the limited set value B range. I do think Temporal Forces would probably be a better investment at this time. It just has more chase cards in the set. It has more secret illustration rares that are more expensive or more valuable. And so, you know, Obsidian Flames is a smaller set in comparison to Temporal Forces. And so, yeah, it has a decent chase card with the Charizard, but I don't think the Charizard can compete with these sets, the Magikarp or the Pikachu. These sets are just larger sets with more set value overall. And yeah, you know, it doesn't matter even if they reprint these sets above here. I do think Obsidian Flames and Paldea Evolved will hit $300 before Surging Sparks and Twilight Masquerade, just because the fact that we probably won't get reprints for them. Whereas Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks, we might get another reprint, which can help, you know, lower the booster box price by another 10-20%. It just depends on how large the reprint is. But yeah, limited set value. So I put the set Obsidian Flames in the B tier, for that set. Here's the last set we're going to talk about, Scarlet and Violet base. Now the set value has totally increased for this set. It used to be like $250 to $300, but ever since the illustration boom a few months ago and lasting up until today, still illustration rares are expensive, especially those PSA 10s. Scarlet and Violet base, we have the Gardevoir $50, the Kirlia $31, and the Ralts $31. This was a beautiful lineup of an evolutionary line, but I do think this Miraidon and the Koraidon will be the most expensive cards in this set. I think it's just going to take more time for these cards to be expensive, and the reason why I say that is because when this set came out, Miraidon and Koraidon were both the most expensive cards in the set at around $100 to $110. And the PSA 10s were like going for $200 post-release, you know. What ended up happening is that there was so much supply for this set. It was the first Scarlet and Violet set. It came out, people liked the set for a minute, and then right away the pull rates were too easy. And people just hated the set all of a sudden because there was so much supply on the market that booster boxes didn't retain a specific value. Booster boxes were getting down to like $80, $75, which is less than wholesale price. I believe wholesale price from distributors to local card shop is like $85 for the initial release of booster boxes so that they can make some sort of profit on top of it. And so it was selling for like below wholesale price. So stores were losing money having this product on their shelves, sitting on their shelves, and selling it as a discount to recoup any money that they had to invest in the next set and have the next set available for customers. At least the good part is that the Drowsy took off for a while. The PSA 10, I don't know how expensive it is, but it was getting pretty crazy for the Drowsy in a PSA 10 at like $500, $600. The Riolu $24, really cute Pokemon card. The Slowpoke, the Miriam. Actually, the Miriam, I believe, was the most expensive card now that I remember, at like $140, $120. The Armarouge, $13. The Graveyard with the little Gengar and Pokeball and Ghastly, $9. The Arvin card, you have the Fido card with the Reflection, the Pachirisu, Dondozo, Great Tusk, the Wiglet, $6. The Tarantula right here with the Scyther. I wish you could see like the Scyther battling it or trying to catch it. It would have been cool to see more of the Scyther. You have the Spidops, and now we have the Team Rocket Spidops. You have a Starly right here. Dolliv. You have an Arcanine EX card that is Chinese exclusive. If that Pokemon card was in this set, oh man, the set would have done so much better. It's just so sick of an Arcanine card, but it's not in this set. The Clauncher card, some random Pokemon ride from Paldea or whatever era it was, Palma, Toadscruel, Scovillain. So there's a decent amount of illustration rares in this set. It's just the fact that pull rates were easy, and the more desirable cards are up here, the more expensive cards right there. So $596, basically $600 in value. I put this in the limited depth set in the C tier. I think the B tier, you know, has the Charizard set. It's a Charizard set, and Charizards tend to do decent. Charizards end up being like mid-tier sets overall. And the Charizard normally ends up being the most expensive card. And so I believe that Charizard has potential one day to be a $400 card. Now, when it comes to these two sets, you know, these both have, you know, Terapagos being featured and these legendaries being featured. So those aren't popular Pokemon. They're not well known. And overall set value is a lot less, less than $600 for these two sets. And so, you know, it's in the C tier. Small set right here, and this set is just, you know, doesn't have the most valuable chase cards in this set. Right now, the most valuable is Gardevoir EX, but it does have those legendaries, and so I think those legendaries, even though singles are volatile, I think those legendaries will do well over time. And I think more people will get Scarlet and Violet just to complete their whole collection of booster boxes. People really like to do that nowadays, whether it's Sword and Shield having one of every box, or Scarlet and Violet one of every box, or even the new Mega Generation that we're getting for ZA, or whatever 10th generation we're getting. People are going to want one of every single booster box, but definitely lower than MSRP is probably your best price. And so we're looking at the booster box right here. We haven't got any reprints for this set, right? This set had a large print run, and that's why we didn't get reprints for this set, and it's highly unlikely that we will. And so because of that, you could see right here you had 98 booster boxes sold in February for the price of $159. And so now that we went into March, it was 188, and then in April 192, and it's kind of stayed at 192 in April. If we look at the last 6 months, in October it was $104. No, December $120, January $140, February $180. So it jumped by $40 in a month. And so ever since January, it's jumped from $138 to now April $189, $192. So it jumped a good from January. That's a good what, $50 in the past 4 months. And mainly because we're getting further and further from Scarlet and Violet base, Obsidian Flames, Paldea Evolved, even Paradox Rift, that people are assuming we probably won't get reprints for this set, especially if the cards get out of rotation. And so yeah, if we review the tier list real quick, you guys, we have Surging Sparks, Twilight Masquerade, Paradox Rift, and Paldea Evolved. When it comes to Paradox Rift and Paldea Evolved, the gem rates are super low, so they're on the S tier. Both of those sets are really large. Both of those sets have really great chase cards, the Groudon, the Magikarp, the Raichu, Tyranitar, the Roaring Moon right here. And so they're on the S tier. And then when it comes to Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks, you have the highly desirable chase cards. Both of them are above $300 for those chase cards. And back in Sword and Shield, you know, the chase cards were only like $230, $250 for the most expensive chase card, like the Giratina V and the Gengar VMAX. They were like in the 200s for a long time, and then they finally got into the 300s. And these two cards right here are already in the 300s. And they're the most expensive Pokemon cards so far in the era, besides maybe the Bubble Mew from Paldean Fates at around $300 as well. And then so that's why these two cards, or these two booster boxes, are on this tier list, because we've had reprints and it's affected the price to a degree, but they're not below $200. They're staying above $200. People are buying these sets. They know that they're the highly desirable sets, and people really like these sets because of the Greninja and the Pikachu. The A tier, you know, we have the Temporal Forces, the Raging Bolt has potential, the Walking Wake, and so, but those chase cards fail in comparison, or they are just second tier when it comes to these four sets right here. The B tier, same thing. We have a second tier chase card in Charizard. You know, maybe if the print run wasn't as large, and maybe if the Charizard was harder to pull, then maybe it would be in the S tier. But the pull rates for this set are a lot easier, and Paradox Rift, Scarlet and Violet base, and Paldea Evolved, they all had easier pull rates, where you were pulling a secret illustration rare 1 out of 2 booster boxes. and then it became 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 plus. And then we have these C tier guys, the limited depth sets right here of Scarlet and Violet base and Stellar Crown. Stellar Crown, small set, kind of like Obsidian Flames, small set, but Stellar Crown has less chase cards. It only has the Bulbasaur and Squirtle. Terrapagos isn't, it's somewhat of a chase, but Obsidian Flames has, the illustration rares going for it, the Caesar, and I'm missing a couple other ones, the Ninetales. Same thing with Scarlet and Violet base. All you have is Gardevoir EX, really, and the Gardevoir line. After that, you just have the legendaries. But then you do have some illustration rares. But again, the pull rates for Scarlet and Violet base are easier than Stellar Crown. And when we go back to the price corrections of Destined Rivals and Journey Together was getting up to 250s right at release. And Destined Rivals managed to go down from $400 to $375, then to $300, and then it's not even released yet. We're still a month away. But before the set was revealed, it got down to $275, and that's when a bunch of people started buying. And I was like, no, you guys are buying too early. You got to wait till maybe it gets to 250, 240. But people couldn't wait. They started buying the booster box for $275, and so that's why now it's gotten into the 300 plus range, because all the other sellers started listing their booster boxes for $300 plus. We could even look at that right here again one more time. Like, people were just, hundreds of booster boxes were sold for $275. That's when a lot of people started pulling the trigger. It went down from $322 to $275, and people were just buying it left and right, like there was, like, as if we're not going to get a decent amount of supply or restocks. But also it could be the FOMO, it could be the hype. People maybe are really liking this Mewtwo. I'm starting to like it as well. People think the Nidoking is great and the Crobat, and then the Moltres is here as well. But not only that, but we're also getting the Cynthia's Garchomp and the Ho-Oh EX, the Ethan's Typhlosion, and the Misty Psyduck. So those are definitely going to be S tier sets. Journey Together and I think Journey Together has a lot of room to grow as well. It's a lot of a smaller set, but you have the Reshiram and Reshiram, and you have the Salamence, and you have these trainer cards, most notably the Lily's Clefairy and Iono's Bellibolt, and that Zoroark. A lot of people actually like this card, but that Salamence, maybe that Salamence will beat all of these cards in the future. We will only have to find out in the coming months. We'll do an update, you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.